Happy New Year, Chromies. Great to be back with you on January 2nd, 2024. I hope you had a great Christmas vacation and New Year. Some of you are already back in the classroom, readjusting to life with a regular schedule again. And some of you have another few days left. I know in my hometown of Howell, we still have Christmas break until the end of the week. So students don't come back until I think the 8th. So enjoy the rest of your break if that's where you're at. My family had a good time. We did a lot, packed a lot in. We made a quick visit to Cocoa Beach, Florida, right before Christmas, and then celebrated the Christmas holiday with family and friends. A lot of people coming into town. Did some skiing. Although there's no snow in Michigan, where I live, we headed up north and got a quick ski trip in, and lots of football and sports and other activities. So it was a good break, but I am excited to be back to a regular schedule. The routine is nice. One of the things that I did over break was made a list of the books that I read in 2023. And I'd like to share those with you. Perhaps you have a New Year's resolution of reading more this year, or maybe you're like me and you're just always looking for a good book. I'm always interested in lists that others share. And so today I thought I'd give you some of the books that I read this past year and share a few of my favorites with you. I'm not going to talk about every single one. This year, I did manage to finish 21 books, which is pretty good. I have to admit, it didn't feel like I read 2 books a month. That's about what I average, pretty close. Some are long, some are short. It's a pretty diverse list. I've got fiction, nonfiction, business, biography. Got a little bit of everything that I'd like to share with you. So we'll dive in and hopefully you'll find something that you're interested in. I'd love to hear from you if you've got a favorite book that you read last year or a book that you're excited to read in 2024. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, leave a comment on the blog post that goes along with this episode, or on YouTube if that's where you watch, and let me know what's on your reading list. Now, I will admit I've always been a reader. I'm an English major, but when I had kids, reading became pretty difficult, just not that much time. And honestly, that all changed when I purchased a monthly Audible subscription. So Audible is the audiobook company owned by Amazon, or purchased by Amazon a while ago. And I purchased a subscription, so I got 1 credit a month to download and listen to any book that I want. And that's really made a big difference. I do spend quite a bit of time in the car. We travel a lot as a family, and when I'm on the road for work, and the ability to listen to a book while doing something else is great. I don't listen to all of my books. It's probably roughly half and half, thereabouts. And over time, I have learned that I prefer to listen to fiction and biography. And I prefer to read, business and more technical books so that I can underline, highlight, and make notes and things like that. So I do a little bit of both. Some audio books. I do have a Kindle. Some of my books are digital, just convenience. Nice to be able to download and read wherever you are. And then there's some print books as well. Just depends. Some of those are gifts. Just depends on what the situation calls for. So this episode is certainly not sponsored by Audible, although if you want to sponsor me, I'm available. Let me know. But that $15 a month credit, knowing that I get that every month and I'm spending that money, really encourages me to read and listen more frequently. So maybe that'll help you if you struggle finding the time. Those audiobooks really come in handy. All right, let's dive in and take a look. First up, let's talk about fiction. And if you're interested in any of these books, obviously you can just go Google them, buy them on Amazon. I do have a blog post that goes with this that has direct links to all of these if you want to quickly find them. I'll put that up for you to check out as well. All right, fiction. I think I read this year, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 fiction books. One book series that I started that was pretty good is called Expeditionary Force. It's by Craig Allenson. This is a 16-book series. I've only read the first 2. I just started book 3 this week. So if you're into a series where you can dive in and don't have to think about it and you read a lot of books for a long time, this would be a great one to look into. Expeditionary Force is kind of a science technology themed book. If you've ever watched the Netflix series Lost in Space or read those books, it has a similar vibe to it. There's a bunch of humans that travel into outer space and interact with another alien culture. A lot of conflict, but the kind of interesting twist on this particular book is that the main character stumbles upon an artificial intelligence, which he names Skippy. And the book is really about the interactions between the humans and this artificial intelligence that is far superior in intellect than anyone in all of the other species. So it's really interesting, especially given all the chatter about AI in our world, to think about what that might look like if AI gained sentience and kind of was his own species. So pretty cool. A lot of books, 16, like I said. If you're into kind of space battles and things like that and technology, it's a good one. Check it out. Craig Allenson is the author. For some reason, I decided to reread Great Gatsby, which was interesting, channeling my English roots, which is good, just as good as I remember it. It's a great book. I also read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. That's a great book. He's also the author of The Martian, which was turned into a very popular movie with Matt Damon. If you really like science in literature, Andy Weir is great. He really tries his best to use actual real science and explain the science in his books. And this one is similar, kind of has a similar vibe to Expeditionary Force. This human is sent out to save the Earth and meets another intelligence, and they work on it together. So it's pretty good. I like it. Someone I know recommended the next one to me. It's The Paris Architect by Charles Belfour. This is a historical novel, which was good. It's kind of a weird one, kind of out in left field. It's not really like anything else I've read. This book takes place during World War II, where there's a Parisian architect who's just kind of going around his business, but ends up being commissioned to build a bunch of secret hiding places for Jews who are hiding, trying to escape Nazi detection. So it's a good book. Like I said, a lot different than the others I read, but if you like historical fiction, that'll be a good one. And we're just about ready as a family. We're going to be heading off to Europe in February. For the month of February, we'll be traveling to England, Paris, and Italy. So this has had a good tie into that as well. One very popular series that I have been working my way through is the Game of Thrones book series. I have not watched the entire HBO series. I've watched some of it. I have now listened to books 1 through 5 by George R.R. Martin. They're wonderfully written. He's an incredibly detailed and descriptive writer, but they are long. Oh my goodness. I think they average around 40 hours each. So if you are looking for a book that you can listen to for weeks and weeks, Game of Thrones is it for you. I don't even remember how many. There's 7 or 8 books. He's still writing them, but they take a long time to get through. So I read 2 of those last year. I do listen at like 1.5 speed, so it shortens them up a little bit, but they are long books. The final series that I've been reading, this one I've been reading for a very, very long time. This is an independent series. It's called the Awaken Online series by Travis Bagwell. He writes usually 2 to 3 books a year. I've read all of them. I think this is book number 7 that I just finished. And they are, if you've ever watched Ready Player One or Ender's Game, it has that kind of a vibe to it. So it's the book series about a bunch of characters who are participating in a virtual reality game. And a lot of the action of the book takes place in the game. So it's kind of a book about a video game world. But again, a lot of interesting concepts and discussions about the role of virtual reality and the division between the quote unquote real world and video game world. So it's a really good series. I've enjoyed it. And I can't wait for him to come up with the next one. Well, those are my fiction reads from this past year. It's nice to kind of take a break from ed tech and business and all that to get into some fiction. I have a couple of fiction books that I read this year. These aren't business. They're kind of biography. One interesting one that I read was Going Infinite by Michael Lewis. You might be familiar with Michael Lewis. He writes books on finance. So he wrote like The Big Short, Liar's Poker. He's written a lot of kind of biographies about fraud and crimes and things like that. Going Infinite is about Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda Research and all the cryptocurrency stuff that went down. Sam Bankman was just convicted of fraud for the basically Ponzi scheme that he had set up with his crypto firm. So really interesting. I've been reading a lot about crypto and Bitcoin and all of that. It's fascinating, terrifying altogether. So this was an interesting read. I'm certainly no expert, but Michael Lewis does a really great job of trying to simplify very, very complex financial situations and crime. And so I think I've read almost everything that Lewis has written. I also read one marriage book just on my own choosing. I've been married for 16 years now to my wife, Nellie. So I read Cherish by Gary Thomas, which is pretty good. It was pretty practical, common sense, nothing real earth shattering there, but a good book. So trying to read something to improve all aspects of my life, not just business or my understanding of educational technology. Next category is business. I read a lot of business books. My company, Sowash Ventures, which is kind of the umbrella company behind which I do everything, my consulting and courses and my things like the Google Admin Bootcamp, the Certification Academy, books that I write, it's all kind of under that umbrella. So I try to read a bunch of business books to try to improve, the value that I provide to my customers, that would be you, and provide for my family. So I've got a couple of interesting ones. One interesting one that you might want to read early in the year is Finish by John Acuff. John Acuff is a great writer. He's written many different books. I actually met John many years ago, so heard him speak. He's really an engaging speaker. John's kind of niche in the business realm is not just goal setting, but completing your goals. And Finish was a really good practical book. The subtitle for the book is Give Yourself the Gift of Done. So it's not just about setting goals, but figuring out how can you kind of hack your life to finish those goals, not to get 10%, 50%, 80% done, but to actually get them done. So it's a good book. And if you have some New Year's resolutions, that might be a good one to start with. I listened to that one. That one's really fun. John is one of the authors who can't just read his book. He has to add in his own little bonus touches and things, which I think is cool. I think it's fun. The most recent book that I read, I got this for Christmas from my parents. We had an early Christmas, beginning of December, was Fans First by Jesse Cole. And this is a really interesting one. Jesse Cole is the owner, CEO of the Savannah Bananas. It's a minor league baseball team out of Savannah, Georgia. And if you've hung out at all on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you probably have seen some of the ridiculous antics of the Savannah Bananas. They're absolutely hilarious. I've been trying to get tickets for the Savannah Bananas, but they are so sold out, you can't even get in. And this was just a really interesting book. Jesse talks about what makes the Savannah Bananas unique, the story behind them, and some of their decisions that they make fans first, and how that has impacted their organization. It was really well done. They've done a lot of interesting, cool things, and hopefully someday I'll get to go and watch them. Another book that I found quite useful was $100 Million Offers by Alex Hermosi. Alex Hermosi is a big deal right now. If you look at the kind of I hesitate to say this, but like the influencer marketing type stuff, Alex made it big himself by helping gym owners improve their gym membership structure. And now he talks about a lot of just general business stuff. The title of this book is terrible and makes me not want to read it. $100 Million Offers, how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no. That's the title of the book. So I was kind of reluctant to read it, but it actually is quite good. Has a lot of really great practical advice on providing so much value to your customer that, like it says in the title, they feel stupid saying no. A lot of the ideas I got from this book, I have implemented into the Chromebook Academy, my newest course for IT administrators. I launched that about a year ago, and it was quite successful. It helps me, it helps customers. It was great. So if you're someone who does online courses, creates anything, kind of has a side hustle, it's a good book. Despite the title, it's a good book. Another couple of books that I read that are good, not quite as good as $100 Million Offers, but still worth looking at, are two books by Rob Fitzpatrick. The first one was Write Useful Books, and then the second one, also by Rob Fitzpatrick, is the Workshop Survival Guide. I have written one book, and it was a very challenging process. And so I've toyed with the idea of writing a second book, but haven't quite pulled the trigger yet. I am contemplating it, and this was a very useful read. So many books get purchased but never read. And the whole point of this book by Rob Fitzpatrick is to write books that are compelling and useful and people love to recommend and kind of sell themselves. So I thought that was very, very good. The other book that he wrote was the Workshop Survival Guide. That one was not quite as good, still decent, but not quite as good as Write Useful Books. So if you're into either of those, if you're interested in writing a book or creating some kind of a workshop for teachers, those two titles might be useful. One of the most impactful books that I read this year was by Cal Newport. And I read this, I think, back in January of 2023. The title of the book is Deep Work. And this was a very challenging read. It's a very deep book, pretty technical, a lot of research. So it's not one you're going to, rush through, but it was very convicting. The general idea behind deep work is everybody has a time of the day where they are at their best. They do their best work. And it's very important that we use that time, whether it's the morning, the afternoon, the evening, for deep, important, meaningful work. Because there is so much busy work available to us. Stuff that you do and you just, it doesn't have any lasting value. And so the subtitle of the book is Rules for a Focused Success in a Distracted World, and how to avoid those distractions, especially in the era of social media and constant bombardment from email and text messages and all the rest. So, I mean, honestly, the book is not rocket science. If you want to know the summary, put your phone away, close your email, sit down and do the work. That's basically it. But it was very, very helpful, very convicting. One of the changes that I personally made after reading this book is I removed the social media apps from my phone. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't have the apps on my phone anymore. I do still check them on my phone, but I actually use the web browser to do that. And that's been very helpful because checking Instagram through the Chrome browser on your phone is not a great experience. You can do it, but it's not great. And so it's just cut down on the amount of time that I waste just scrolling aimlessly on those sites. So I'm certainly no expert and I'm still working at it, but I know that for me, my deep work happens in the morning. I need to get my most important, most significant work done then. And then the afternoon is when I typically do email and busy work and calls and things like that. And then I go work out in the late afternoon. For me, the time between like 2 and 4 is the worst time of the day. I'm always really tired. So I scheduled my trip to the gym then to kind of give me a new spark. There's a few other books that I read in the business category, but those are some of my favorites. I also read a book called The Pumpkin Plan by Michael Wicks, and I think those are the big ones. So some of my favorites. Hopefully, there's something there you might want to check out. Last category are the biography and memoir category. I read No Pain, No Gains by Chip Gaines of Chip and Joanna Fixer Upper fame. I've read most of the books that Chip and Joanna have written, and this one was terrible. This was one of my least favorite books of the year. It really felt forced and unnecessary. So for me, I would pass on No Pain, No Gains. I like Chip's first book, Capital Gains. That one felt good, but I would pass on his second. I also read the new Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson. Walter Isaacson is considered to be one of the greatest biographers of the day. One of his most famous books was Steve Jobs. So makes sense that he would spend a while shadowing Elon Musk and writing about him. I don't know all the details about the biography, but Isaacson shadowed Musk, I think, for a year, just kind of sitting in meetings with him and observing him. So he had a lot of access to Elon Musk. I read an earlier biography of Elon Musk. It was published, 4 or 5 years ago, which was good. This one is very good as well. This one goes all the way up just after Elon bought Twitter. Kind of ends there. So it has a lot of current events, talks about the election and censorship on Twitter and a lot of interesting things. I learned a lot more about SpaceX, which I didn't know much about. Certainly a lot about Twitter and his family. Basically, Elon is a crazy person. He's a genius and he gets tons of stuff done, but he is borderline crazy person. And it's a very honest look, warts and all, at the world's richest and arguably most influential man. It was weird reading a biography about someone who is still very much alive and still very much influencing the world. So it kind of felt it was great, but then it just kind of ended and you kind of want to know what's next. So he's going to have to do a second version, another 20 years, kind of chronicling the, last third of Elon's life or something like that. So definitely an interesting one. Love him or hate him, he is a fascinating person. The last biography memoir that I read was The Courage to Be Free by Ron DeSantis, obviously currently running for president. We spent a lot of time in Florida, and some of DeSantis' policies has interacted with some of the businesses that we've had in Florida. So I wanted to learn more about him. I was pretty impressed. It's a good book, really explains kind of who he is and what motivates him, like him or not. It's nice to get to know the candidates in more than just sound bites and short clips. So we'll see what happens, shakes out. But it was a good book. As someone who enjoys sports, especially baseball, that's a big influence and factor in Ron's life as well. I didn't realize he was such a good athlete, but spent a lot of time playing baseball as well. So those are my 3 biographies, memoirs that I read from this past year. Well, that's my list from this last year. I'm kind of trying to rebuild my personal reading list for 2024. So if you have any suggestions or recommendations, head over to Twitter or Instagram or the blog post. Let me know what's on your reading list. And I'd love to add some. I'm always trying to add something to my my wish list. So when I finish a book, I've got a list of new ones yet to check out. I hope you have a wonderful 2024. Happy New Year. I'll be back here throughout the year, every month, with tips and ideas that you can use in your classroom. and hopefully help you use technology more effectively. Thanks, everybody. Take care.